Hi, I'm Chef Chris in the Growing Chefs Ontario classroom kitchen. I work for a restaurant through Thick and Thin Pizza. We make two types of pizza there, Detroit style and New York style. Both are very different pizza styles. New York styles are very large pieces you can almost fold in half and have a very thin crust. Detroit style pizza is a very thick crust, loaded with ingredients. This one is one of my favorite types of pizza and is really easy to make in a home oven. Today I'm going to show you how to make a Detroit style pizza with the help of my kids, Callum and Alora. The pizza we are making today is a Pico de Gallo pizza. Pico de Gallo is a delicious Mexican salsa that is not cooked, and everything is chopped very finely. Right now in Ontario, we have all of the ingredients needed for a delicious Pico de Gallo growing in our garden. To top it off, we are going to make a zesty lime aioli and garnish the pizza with some cilantro. So first things first, we're going to start stretching the dough a little bit. It takes a few minutes to really press it out. So what you want to do is start with a little bit of oil, a little splash, rub it in there. Make sure you get the sides so we don't get any sticking, and then it's easier to remove. And then take your dough. This is the Detroit style dough. It's very sticky. And try not to bend it. You want to keep that ball shape. And what I do is I just press it down, pop some bubbles, flip it over, make sure both sides are covered in oil. And you just start from the middle and press out. And you can have it curl around your hands like this. And try and get it to the sides. And it's going to shrink back in like this. You can see that. So then what we'll do later is we'll come back to it and press it down again in about 10 minutes. Once it's heated up, it should stop shrinking as much. So first things first, we're going to start with the sauce. We're going to cut up some tomatoes. I'm going to get Alora to help me quarter them, and then Callum's going to rough chop them. Doesn't matter the sizes, because we're just going to blend it up anyways. Cut it in half, Alora. Use your curled fingers, please. Yep, just like that. And then I'm gonna help you core it.
Let me.
Yep, and you can start chopping, okay? Use your bear claw. Yep, you gotta push hard though. And while they're doing this, I'm gonna finely dice a clove of garlic. So we're done with the prep for the sauce. We've roughly chopped the tomatoes and diced the garlic. And we have these other tomatoes set aside for the Pico de Gallo later. So next, I'm gonna get my helpers I'm gonna get Callum to shuck the corn. So you want to take the peels off, Cal. Let's keep this up here. And you can start peeling the corn. And I'm gonna get Alora to cut the green onion with the scissors. So these will both be for the Pico de Gallo. So while the kids are doing that, I'm gonna core out the tomatoes and finely dice the tomatoes. So what I'm doing with the tomatoes is I'm cutting it into strips first and then cubing it up pretty small. And this will be for our Pico de Gallo. Next up, Callum has finished peeling the corn very well, making a bit of a mess. So normally we do it outside, right, Callum? Next, he's going to be picking the leaves off of the cilantro for the garnish. Let me pick little leaves and put them in the bowl like this. While Callum's picking leaves, I'm going to get Alora to zest my lime with this microplane. Do you know how to do it, Alora? Here, why don't you hold the microplane with your left hand, and then the lime, and watch out for your fingers. Very good. You could even just do it onto the cutting board like this. And you want to kind of rotate it so you're not just getting all the white stuff, but you're getting all the fresh outside like this. Next up is the cheese. For Detroit style pizza, we need cubed cheese and we need grated cheese. First, we're going to do the cubed. I'll cut big chunks about a centimeter. Just wait, Callum. Yep, just wait. I'll let you do that in a second. Cut down about a centimeter and a half wide, and then I'll cut it just like that. And here, Callum, you can cut them like this. Just into cubes like this, buddy. Okay. The cubes can be pretty rough. Doesn't matter what size, it's all going in the oven, it's all gonna melt, so it will be beautiful in the end. Once I have about a cup of cubed cheese, I'm gonna also need about a cup of grated cheese. So the grated cheese is gonna go around the edges of the crust to create that nice Detroit style crust. It's beautiful.
These ones?
Yep, keep going. So now I'm gonna get the kids to pick the oregano for the tomato sauce. Well, I finely dice up about the same size as the tomato, a quarter cup of onion. Next up, I'm going to be grilling the corn to give it that nice charred flavor for the Pico de Gallo. Just putting it on my grill, and we're doing it inside. Normally I'd be doing this on the barbecue because, you know, it's summertime and that's just what you do in the summertime. Next up, we're going to blend the tomato sauce. And I got my buddy here because he loves pushing buttons, right? So do you want to help me dump the tomatoes in first? Right in here, Laura. Dump the tomatoes and the oregano. Yep, all of it in. There we go. Do you see it in there, Cal? Those are the tomatoes that you chopped?
I'm going to turn it on.
Yep. Here, let me put the lid on. I'll put the lid on so that it's nice and tight.
I'm going to keep it on. Wait.
Okay, blend it up. There you go. You can turn it up a little bit too if you want. And we're blending it up just until it's a nice puree and everything's all chopped up, no chunks.
I want it like that.
Perfect. Now you can turn it off. And let's check it out, guys. How does it look? Like sauce?
Good.
Smells good, yes. Okay, you want to dump it in there?
Oh.
What I'm gonna do next is we're gonna finish the sauce. We blended all the tomato and the oregano up, and now we're gonna cook it a little bit with some garlic. First, I'm going to heat up my oil, about a teaspoon, on very low heat. Just for the garlic to get a little bit aromatic and we don't want the garlic to brown, actually. And it's on very low heat just to extract the flavors from the garlic. Once it smells pretty fragrant, you can smell that garlic. Not browned, it's still, you know, a little bit translucent. It took me about a minute, maybe 2 minutes to do that. Then we're just gonna toss in the tomato puree and give it a little stir. And there is going to be some separation with the oil and the puree. And so basically what we want to do is have it on low heat until the oil and the tomato sauce come together as one. And while that's going, you can turn it up to a little higher heat, about a medium low. And while that's going, I'm going to be cutting the corn off. As you can see, it's nice and charred. That's going to add a lot of flavor to our pico de gallo. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut it in half so I have this nice flat spot here so I can rest it on the table and then just start cutting. Ooh, that looks good. And if you really like the charred flavor of corn, you're probably going to be doing it on your barbecue anyways. You can blacken it as much as you want. Just while the sauce is cooking as well, I cut my corn. Now I'm going to give another stretch to my dough and just get right in there, press it down. It's going to curl over your hands like this. That's perfect because then it's going to just retract back in. But it's a lot easier to stretch out now that it's been sitting out for a little while. So you'll get it right to the edges. Have it curl over a little bit over your fingers like this. And our oil is starting to be absorbed into the puree. It's looking pretty good. And we don't want to forget about our salt and pepper in there. So I'm going to take about a good pinch salt and a pinch of pepper too. I got my salt and pepper in there now. I just give it one more stir. It's simmering a little bit. It's probably just about ready. All the oil is absorbed now. And as you can see, it's a little, the dough here isn't quite to the corners, so let's just keep on going. And just don't be afraid to just push it right to the edge. Overstretching it isn't an issue. Next, I'm going to be just mixing our pico. And Callum, do you want to help me dump all the ingredients into this bowl?
Yeah.
Yep, just dump it. There you go. There's one. Here's two. Our red onion. Yep. And your favorite, the corn. Yes. Okay, now we got to stir it up. Okay. Take a spoon. Start stirring. Good job. Keep going.
I'm making sour now.
Next, of course, salt and pepper. Okay, next up, we're going to be building our pie. So, Laura, do you want to put the sauce on? Here's our tomato sauce that we made. And careful, it's a little bit hot still, but you can just spoon it on. Try not to make a mess. And get it right in the middle. Here, the easiest way to do it is to get your sauce on there first. And if you've made too much sauce, you can always use it as a pasta sauce. tomorrow or for lunch tomorrow or something. Anyways, that looks great. Not all the way to the edge. You want to leave some crust. And you want to spread it out a little bit more. Make it nice and even. Good. Okay, now who wants to help me with cheese?
Me.
You? Okay, Laura, you can do the grated cheese. And Callum, you help me with the cube cheese, because you're the one that helped me cut this, right? So Laura, this cheese, first we're going to put the cube, well, let's spread it out, Cal. Spread the cheese out like this, okay? Next, yes, we are going to do the grated cheese. Yes, you can have a snack of cheese. No, we're not doing the grated cheese in it. Doesn't really matter if you get some grated cheese in there, because it's all just the same cheese. But what we're going to do is tuck it around the edges. And that's going to give us a nice, crispy, cheesy, Detroit-style crust. So give it a little tuck in the edge. Doesn't matter if it's in the middle a little bit. Perfect. Yeah. So that could, if you have any extra toppings, you can always make a pasta with it. Because why not? Noodles and sauce and cheese. Next, we're going to be putting our Pico de Gallo on there. So Laura, we're just going to use our hands. Why not? So just scoop it all up. I'm actually going to give it a little squeeze to get some of the juices out. And then just spread it around like this. I usually use 2 hands. Goes a little bit faster. Give it a squeeze, Laura. Yep, and then use 2 hands like this. And that's perfect. That's how it should be. Next up, while the pizza's in the oven, we're going to quickly whip up our lime aioli. So we got the lime zest that Alora did. So you want to put that in your aioli there. And then you want to squeeze some lime in there, please. Can you do that? You know how to do that? You wanted to do one, you can do this one, okay? So we're doing basically half a lime. So we have our lime zest, our lime juice. Now we need to, of course, add salt and pepper to it. Callum, do you want to help me give a little sprinkle in there? And that's good. And then we'll stir that up. So with this aioli, you can either drizzle it onto your pizza after it's baked, or you can, what we like to do at home is have our own little dishes and just dip our pizza. So our pizza's done and it's ready to be taken out of the pan. First, I like to do all the edges like this, just to separate it a little bit. You can see it's nice and loose, but just to make sure it's out. And then I use 2 lifters because the pizza's so big. If you don't have 2, you can use a butter knife, works fine too. Just to lift it out just like that. And so what are we going to do next, Alora? What are we going to add on here as a garnish?
Cilantro.
The cilantro, right.
Oh.
So let's add our leaves on here. And there we go. And I don't normally use a pizza cutter for cutting the Detroit style because it's so thick. I like to use just a chef's knife. And start in the middle. And we're done our delicious Pico de Gallo pizza.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have as much fun as we do
Yeah.
making pizza. I love making pizza. The best thing about this recipe, this dough recipe, is that if you have any leftovers in your fridge, say some vegetables or some meat that you have leftovers, you don't have to use this specific Pico de Gallo recipe. You can just pile on whatever with the cheese, whatever sauce you want, and bake it off the same way, and it'll end up perfect. That's why I love this recipe. I use up all the leftover scraps in my fridge and usually do about once a week.